Hey y'all, welcome to Cocktail Hour. I am Meg.
And I'm Nikki.
Now, today's mentorship with Mickey is all about business organization. Thanks for submission by one of our listeners, and here's what they had to say.
Hi, I just wanted to say I absolutely love your podcast and all the work you guys do. I'm especially loving the new Mickey mentorship at the end. I'd love some advice. I officially filed as an LLC this past year, but before that, I was doing photography pretty low key. I started when I was pretty young, and it's more of a side thing while I was in school. Now that I'm finishing up, I'm looking to officially go full time. Things have gotten a little crazy. I've been booking a ton of sessions, seniors, weddings, families, and while the creative side has been amazing, the behind the scenes has me overwhelmed. Tracking income, expenses, miles, write-offs, it's a lot to learn. It's already getting toward the end of the year and I barely have anything organized. I'm honestly terrified and I'm going to be totally lost when tax season hits. Also, I'm trying to figure out how to raise my prices in a way that not only reflects the work I'm putting in, but also helps attract the right clients and allows me to make a steady, sustainable income. I know pricing plays a big role in how you're perceived and who you book, but it's hard not to feel nervous and about scaring people off. Any advice on making that jump confidently? Do you have any tips or systems that helped you when you were starting out? Tools you swear by, things you wish you knew sooner? I'd love any honest feedback you have. Much love and keep doing what you're doing. Your podcast is my favorite thing to listen to on my long drives. Thank you. You're an angel.
That was so sweet.
Yeah, seriously.
Because that was legit our goal
Did you
a
write
year
that?
ago. No.
I always am like,
I really should start writing them, but no, I didn't.
That's so funny.
Real quick before we get into this, because this was very sweet, you had texted me and said, happy 1 year of the pod.
Mm-hmm.
Is that from when we decided to do the pod? Because I feel like we started releasing
Correct.
episodes
That was
in
our
January.
drive to Green Bay.
To Green Bay.
Yeah, the episodes started releasing in January.
I was like, how are we only at 24 episodes? No. Okay, that makes me feel better. But shout out to 1 year since the mind creation.
The inception. Conception. Is that sex?
I like it. I like it a lot. But okay, so for this submission, we have plenty of feedback, tips, tricks, what we wish we knew, all that good stuff. But I also want to call out kudos to you for, hey, lots of sessions getting booked, all that good stuff, because that's where it starts. Like, that's where you want things to be going, and then the organization comes after that. So I'm going to kick us off and just say, first things first, you need to open a business bank account.
Yep.
If you have an LLC, go open a business bank account. I don't care if it's with a credit union, with, Wells Fargo, Oos Bank, Chase, whatever. That's where you're going to start. Because when people are thinking right now, they're thinking about like, okay, what are the impacts right now? But I want you to think long term. If you get audited, think about long term protecting your business. So that's the first thing that you want to do.
And it just makes it a lot easier to track all of your expenses.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that's in here. But I think that having it's easy to like know what you're able to write off and not write off other than having to go back and track anything a harder way. But I have a different system for that too. So.
I might have a different system than what I would provide advice on. I probably have a different system than that, because I think that if you have the money, pay $50 a month for QuickBooks. And you don't like, if you started your business, let's say in January, open your business bank account, you have transactions going through and they're not organized, you can then go get QuickBooks in June.
Yeah.
And it'll look through all of your transactions as far back as you go and tell it to, and you can organize it that way.
Do you link your QuickBooks to your HoneyBook?
I do everything manually in a spreadsheet. Adam looks at my bank account on the first of every month. It looks back at the previous month, and we keep a spreadsheet of not only the transaction, the date, the amount, the merchant, any notes that like, so I know why I spent that money. And then we have a column that is this tax deductible? And then the next column is how much of it is tax deductible. For instance, when we go out with Sylvia and Brian tonight, 50% of, like a client meal, I think it's 50%. I don't think it's 100%. So things like that. I don't know off the top because Adam does everything. But that is one of the tips we have on here of you need to make sure you have something in place for tracking
So then what is
these.
the point of the QuickBooks then?
I don't use QuickBooks.
Oh, okay. I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say QuickBooks to me is a it is useful
Yes,
for
I
people.
agree.
It is a little bit pricey, but it takes a lot of the weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
Because you can set rules. You can say like, hey, if you see this certain bar transaction come through my bank account, that's because I take clients there and that needs to automatically be set up as a client meeting, whatever. So I like it for that. It has great reporting at the end of the year, but I do everything manually just because, and that's the same thing I do for client communication and like client tracking. Yes, I have HoneyBook, but if I have any notes about the client, they're not in HoneyBook.
Right.
I am keeping like a whole other section of organization.
If HoneyBook crashes tomorrow, how the fuck are you going to know anything?
Yeah. Speaking of that, I want to go print off all of my contracts just to have them.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
It's not. Once a client books something, they sign, go ahead and just
have
print
a
it as
file.
PDF and keep it on your computer. Because with this whole thing that happened with HoneyBook, I had no idea what payments were coming in, what packages my client booked. If they had a question, I would not be able to answer it. Little scary. But I'm going to try to go in order. So number 1 was please get a business bank account. Number 2, if you have the funds, hire a CPA or just if you can even hire them for a quick consultation. I would say of sitting down with them and saying, hey, I am a wedding photographer. I'm a DJ, whatever. What are my most common deductions that I can be tracking? Are there any that you would recommend are kind of hole in the wall situations? I think that you could save so much more money consulting with them versus you would paying them.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, number 3. Have a decent idea of buckets that you can write off. For example, travel, home office, insurance. Found a lot of great info on bench.com. And that will be linked in the show notes.
Yeah. So for bench.com, they literally broke it down into big categories of what small business owners are writing off. And then they really go down into specifics that I thought were really helpful. So yeah, the most common ones that people think about when they're in the wedding industry is like, okay, our gear is a big one and maybe mileage is a big one. But then it talks about, okay, well, your home office. It talks about the insurances that you're paying out. Anything that you spend money on to operate your business very likely is a business tax deduction. So it's really important that you are not leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Mind you, Nikki and I, let me preface, are not lawyers. We are not CPAs. So none of this is like
actual advice
you should do. Yeah, but
yeah.
this is how we
just personal experience.
Yeah, personal experience, how we went through this. But there's even go to Barnes and Noble and go get, tax deductions for dummies or something like that. But there's so much information out there that if you really start doing your research, you're going to find easily 40 different deductions that you can keep an eye on. And then, like I said, with the spreadsheet that I have, we also have categories that you can mark things like, okay, was this a equipment expense? Was this mileage? All of these different things. Because at the end of the year, what you don't want to be doing that I have done is have nothing categorized. And then I'm spending a straight week looking at every transaction in my bank account.
Or stressing yourself out a week before tax season. Yeah, that's stressful. I have an app and I can't remember what it's called, so I'm trying to find it because literally my brain doesn't work. I don't think it's Rocket Money, but I do use Rocket Money if anybody has that. But I have an app that is linked to my bank account that automatically does it for me, which is very nice, just so that I can then go through, print it off, bring it in when it's time for taxes, have him look through it all, add it all up, and say, okay, we're good to go.
Yeah. And I also think it's subjective to the person because I'll give you an example. In previous years, if you follow me on social media or know me as a human, you know that I spend money like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
And so I really needed a firm look at my finances. And that's why Adam took it over doing this spreadsheet method, because it's just like, I needed to figure out, why am I spending $4,000 a month on equipment? Or I needed a more heavy hand on that. So that more manual effort on things is good for me. But for people who can actually manage their money, I love a QuickBooks or an app.
I don't know. Which is ridiculous. I don't think it's Rocket Money, but there is an app that I have. Maybe it is Rocket Money.
Fair. If we figure it out, we'll put it in the show notes as well. One other thing I like to call out in terms of like different softwares and stuff. Do you use MileIQ?
I do use MileIQ.
My favorite. Last year, I think I wrote off $15,000 in mileage.
Does it automatically start when you start driving?
Yeah. And then you can categorize, hey, this was personal, this was business. Do not underestimate how much money you can write off for mileage alone.
It's insane.
It's insane. When I drive to the film lab to drop off my film, that's a business drive.
Yep.
Like things like that do add up quickly. So any driving that you're doing for weddings or business related things, you should be tracking those. That adds up really quickly.
One
so
thing I learned this year too, while I was getting my taxes done, was that if you get a new car, and let's say you are somebody who did not know that maybe mileage was a good way to write off, or that you could write off mileage on your taxes, and you were doing it by gas and stuff like that, because that's always an option. If you ever get a new vehicle, you can change that. You can't change it until then. So if you are just getting into all of the deductions and the business side of things, I would suggest doing mileage
100%.
from the start and keeping it that way throughout the, longevity of your business.
Yeah. And I think if you really look at the money, because your options are, if you didn't know, you either do mileage or you do
gas,
right? Gas, the money that you're spending. The mileage, in my opinion, in my calculations, far outweighs the money that you're spending on gas. And so sure, if you live let's say you live in California and your gas per gallon is $7, different.
Then,
but over here it's high 2s, low 3s, and it comes out a lot more in your favor if you're just writing off the mileage.
Agreed.
But like Nick said, do the calculations when you start this and just keep going
it that way.
Yeah, keep it going. I know we already talked about it a little bit, but we talked about finance tracking, QuickBooks, or doing it manually. What Adam and I like to do is we make a date once a month. We will go to a coffee shop or we'll go to a cafe and we'll sit down and look at the finances. So to me, I kind of look forward to it. I kind of am like, hey, let's look at things. What did we bring in? What did we spend? What did we save? What did we put away from taxes? What kind of is next month looking like? What do we need to plan for? What payments are we going to be making to associates? Like things like that. I like sitting down and kind of making it a date so it doesn't feel as meh. So even if you're on your own and you're looking through your QuickBooks, go sit down at your favorite cafe, order a latte, a $10, $11 latte.
Write it off because you're working.
That's exactly it. It is a business meeting with yourself and your computer. But go through it and just get a hold on things. As I mentioned, in starting years of my business, I would spend money and I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I really struggled once it got to tax season. Not only things weren't organized, but setting aside the amount of money I should have for taxes. And it just wasn't worth the stress, and it wasn't worth the very minuscule excitement that I got of buying things or thinking like, oh, I make enough money, I don't need to pay that much attention to your finances. Yes, you do.
You have no idea when you get the amount that you have to pay in taxes back. You're going to want to just be able to have the money set aside to pay it right away.
100%.
Or to make a payment plan and have the money, set up at least so that you can do that, because it's stressful. Yeah. And you, as a small business owner, we already have enough stressors and we put enough on ourselves. We don't need to continue to add into that basket of like, well, now what the fuck?
Yeah. And I will give, this isn't off topic, but it's a little deviation. A CPA that I had in the past said to me, oh, you don't need to make quarterly payments. The penalties are not nearly as much. Like, I don't know how he was explaining it, but I was like, okay, sure, that makes sense. Wrong. I got hit with a tax bill and there was penalties on it. And I was like, why the fuck do I have penalties? Like, you're just giving me the bill. Yeah. You're not even giving me a chance to pay for it. And she goes, well, you should have been paying quarterly taxes. Like, you have to get that paid in advance. And then, of course, at the end of the year, I got a big fat bill. Couldn't pay for all of it. Already had penalties on it. And then I got hit with more penalties and interest because I couldn't pay by a certain time. And it's just like, don't put yourself in that position. Figure out what your quarterlies are. Pay those. My tip is 30%. Any dollar that comes into your bank account, 30% needs to go into a savings account for taxes. Very likely you will not owe 30% because of your deductions, depending on the business. But then, okay, great. You had 30.
You have money.
Yeah, now you have extra money to either pay other debt off, go buy yourself something nice.
Yep.
Go get a new camera.
Yep, get a new body, baby.
Yeah, get a new body.
Anyways. Keep receipts and either physical or electronic. Agreed.
I have, it's over there. I can't remember the brand. It's like Doxy or something, but you can feed receipts into it.
Oh, like a scanner.
And it just scans them real quickly, puts them in a folder, which is really nice. But the other thing I recommend to people is if you buy anything online, which most of us buy everything online, when you get that email, the receipt, file, print, and just export it to a PDF and keep it in a folder.
That's something I need to be better at.
Because here's my thing. You don't really need it for taxes, but you might need it if you get audited. So better safe than sorry, even if you're like, well, I think I have the physical copy.
Have you been audited?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's one of my great fears.
I can tell.
I know. I talk about it a lot. It is one of my great fears because I once watched a girl get audited, not from a business. She was personal.
A girl.
She was a single mom. She was a bank teller with me at a bank. The way that this woman looked stressed every moment of the day, and she, after like a month or two of going through this process, had aged.
Are audits random?
Completely random.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure that there are factors where they go like, you made 100,000 last year, but now you made 10 million this year, like red flag. So I'm sure there's red flags they look at, but getting audited is such a fear of mine, especially the first few years of running my business, where I'm like, I know I did everything right in terms of, like, I didn't write anything off I shouldn't have, but I definitely was like, okay, I didn't keep that good of receipts. And
do you think it also a factor? And again, what the fuck do we know? But like, I'm asking you like you're a CPA, okay?
That's okay. Hit me.
Google it as I'm asking, just so you have the right answer. Do you think though that, like you said, 1 year you're making 10,000 and then the next year you're making $10 million, but also is it a factor of like, if you're not paying your taxes, you know, if you have back taxes and stuff like that, like does that play as a factor into being audited?
So audit red flags. Okay, this came up on Google. So excessive expenses.
Okay.
So, you know, hey, I bought a yacht. They might flag that. Misreporting income, missing income, large charitable deductions, claiming rental losses, high income. So just people who make more money, more susceptible. Lots of cash transactions, foreign bank accounts.
Because that's what I'm wondering, like, what was baby girl doing?
Hobby losses. What's a hobby loss? Can I have a hobby and write off some money on it?
Yeah.
Round numbers they don't like. Business owner, just business owners on this list. Earned income tax credit, so having some kiddos. Gambling losses.
Okay, you know what though? The kid thing. I know some folks.
Oh yeah.
I know some folks that be lying on their taxes.
See?
And saying that they got more kids than
they actually have,
so that they can get more money back.
See?
So,
and it's a pretty decent chunk per kid. Definitely not enough to raise a child, but enough to like.
Oh, it's enough. They were getting back some money, and I was like, God damn, girls, you're making money off the, you know, these taxes off these kids.
The way my parents used to fight each other every year for who got to claim me on their taxes. I thought it was so funny. And I was just sitting there like,
okay, who wants me?
Right. Neither of them wanted me. They just want the deduction.
I don't know if I was ever claimed.
Right. I don't know if your mom ever filed
my mom ever. Just kidding. Don't audit her. This is a joke. She's a lawful citizen.
She is. We
now.
love her. The next one was 30% savings. We talked about that. Please, please, please. Nothing feels better than having enough money for taxes.
Yeah.
No camera body, no lens, no nothing feels as good as paying your taxes in full. So just learn from your girl and get your act together before because it's very easy to let this get out of control.
And I will say, as somebody who, this was my first year in paying taxes, that it was a substantial amount of money. Yeah. On one hand, did it feel really great that I made enough money or made, you know, a lot of money? I made more than anybody in my household. Yeah, that felt great. On the other hand, what felt even better was the fact that I was able to pay my taxes off.
Yeah.
That felt amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, I would be sweating, shitting, crying right now had I not had the opportunity to have this money saved to pay my taxes off.
Yeah. I wished that it was like at our corporate jobs where they just took it automatically, because we have to give people some grace. So many people in the United States are in credit card debt. So many people are struggling financially. So I need you to then think about, now you're in a position where all this money's coming into your account. you know that
Yep.
you're going to have to pay for taxes, but it's not being taken from you automatically. That gets very sticky very
It's a
quick.
very dicey situation to be in because you, like you said, you have other expenses. You have things that you could pay off. And it's not always like, oh, hey, I want to go buy a new camera body. Like some people really truly are like, well, shit, I'm $10,000 in credit card debt or more, and I need to pay it off. And I would love to do that. But I can't fully do it yet because a chunk of this money does need to be saved for taxes.
What did I say the other day? The only two things certain in life are taxes and death. Taxes, the man will want their money, so just set it aside. So in a nutshell, organization, I know your question was like, hey, how do I get organized? It really is subjective to the person.
Yep.
It's subjective if you like to do things manually, if you want them automated. If you want them automated, I would download QuickBooks. I would download a mile tracker of some sort, and every single month go review your QuickBooks, make sure the categorizations are correct, all that good stuff. By the end of the year, you're set.
Well, and here's the thing about those automations too. You can write those off.
Yeah.
They're a business expense.
100%.
You can use those as like, yes, it might be $50 a month, but at the end of the day, that's saving you probably thousands at the end of the year when it comes to and peace of mind, the stress, the anxiety that surrounds it. Because if you are, what the submission says is like, I'm booked and busy, I'm making a ton more money, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Like, if you're doing all of those things, that's amazing and that's great. But there are a lot of stressful components that come with that.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
and I also, just in case anyone's listening to this who's just starting a business or thinking about starting an LLC, thinking about David from Schitt's Creek. It's a business expense, right?
Yep.
It's a write-off.
Yep.
Here's what I need you to think of. That does not mean it's free.
Nope.
How I think about it is technically it was a 30% cheaper item. If you have to spend $100 for your business and it's a write-off, you're saving 30% on that item.
And not at the time of purchase.
Correct.
That's
Long
I
term.
think that's something that's hard for people to understand too, is like, oh, well, it's a write-off. Well, that doesn't mean that when you're purchasing the item, the item is less expensive.
Yeah.
That just means that you are able to use that as a deductible.
Yeah. You are still spending the money.
Yes.
It's just you spent the $100 now. So then when you go to pay your taxes, you'll go, okay, well, this tax liability, I made $100,000, but I spent this $100 on, something for the business. So the $100 is no longer taxed. That is only saving you 30% on top of that $100. So you still spent $70.
Yeah.
So don't let that go to your head of buying a bunch of stuff like, oh, tax. The things I would recommend, again, this is not advice necessarily, but if you have flexibility in your money, I would also look at things like, a health savings account. If you don't have insurance in other places, retirement accounts, look at what would work best for you because those are tax deductible. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I made so much money, I'm going to owe so much in taxes. If you don't need that money right now, I would look at investing it into retirement accounts or health related things that can also lower your tax liability, but that you will have access to that money in the future in case of an emergency. That's also smart, but that gets into so many different waters and things that you could look at. So that's why we would recommend hiring a CPA or talking to them about that.
She can be dicey.
Yeah. But the other thing that I will say is if you're more like myself and you want to do everything manually, you got to stay on top of it. Have a date every single month that you sit down, you do the finances, you get organized. And that way, by the end of the year, you're not like, oh, fuck, I fucked myself.
And I think that's where we differ is that I am not the best at doing things manually. And so I wish I was. I wish I was a girl. I wish I was a girl who could do things manually, but I'm not. And because I'm not, I pay for apps and I pay for things that help keep track of it for me. And when it does come time to look back over my finances or go through all of my like different buckets where money was spent, like I can go through that because it's already organized for me.
They have the reporting.
Yes. And I can pull the reports and just give that to my CPA and be like, cool.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Here you go. Do your job, buddy.
Yep.
Last thing I want to talk about is I don't know if this is a girl. They had mentioned, hey, pushing my prices up. So I want to hear, I feel like I've talked about how I manage that. How have you managed that?
Poorly. I'm going to throw that out there because I was always somebody who had such imposter syndrome when I was starting my business that I was always so afraid to up my prices and get to a price point that felt comfortable for me. Even now, I do feel like I'm in a position where I could slightly up my prices if I, went through the not hoops, but just took the initiative to go through different systems of like reaching out to planners or reaching out to different venues that I've worked at or reaching out to other vendors that I've worked with and saying like, hey, I'm looking to continue working with you, loved working with you, blah, blah, blah. But I haven't done that yet. And I'm kind of in this place where I'm a little bit more like lackadaisy comfortable with the spot that I found myself in terms of just like what my bookings look like and how busy I am. And I am somebody who really but really values the like life work balance. And I feel like we've had this conversation where you are more driven in the sense of like, work is there, work is work. I'm going to work. And I don't necessarily feel like I have that. And I do feel like I've fallen into a space where I'm like, okay, I have work-life balance. I have a weekend off. Like, let me just enjoy it. Or I won't take work on Memorial Weekend because we go on this family trip every year. Like there are little specific things in me, quirks, that I don't necessarily love and that I wish I didn't have. But I think at the end of the day,
but that's a grass is greener situation because I wish I had that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I will say I haven't always been good with raising my prices, and it took me a long time to actually feel confident and comfortable to actually do so. And I wish I would have taken the approach of like, well, let me just raise them little by little. Okay, I'm getting like 5 to 10 bookings. Let me raise my prices by $100. Something that's small. I mean,
it doesn't have to be massive.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a huge leap. And I think that was one of the harder things for me to kind of wrap my head around was that it doesn't have to be a big jump.
Yeah.
It can just be small jumps here and there that can make a difference in the long run.
Agreed.
Because eventually you can get to a $10,000 booking after just, upping $100 after each booking.
Yeah, agreed. And let me say before I keep going, because I know that I'm yanking this mic away from me, we'll talk about it more on Friday's episode, but I got wisdom teeth removed and I have a cold at the same time. And they tell me not to blow my nose, try not to cough. Like they're telling me all this,
so
and
you don't get socket.
And I'm like, I'm like, I don't know what you expect me to do. So I'm trying to cough very softly and whatever. So I apologize for the listeners today. But with the raising prices, I agree. I've been the type where after every booking, maybe every other booking, I've raised it like $500. I've been that person to really push the envelope. I've pushed the envelope and then had to pull it back.
Right.
Where I go, okay, nope, you're not at the point yet where you can get that booking or where people are going to pay that money. And I agree that it's really scary. But someone said something to me once and it's always stuck with me where I go, or they said, like, who's going to know?
Right.
Who's going to know what's in your pricing guide? You can put on your website, like, starts at or average of, but then your pricing guide can say whatever you want it to say, and people are either going to pay for it or if they're not. So you send it to a couple people, they're like, hey, they're communicating that it's out of their budget, okay, pull it back.
Yeah,
but it's okay to raise it, like Nick said, raise it $100. And it also depends on the session type. So I'm talking 10-hour 12-hour day weddings, I've raised it at $500. I'm not raising my session prices $500 every couple bookings.
And it also depends on your level of skill. I really think like it's a double-edged sword because on one hand you do have that imposter syndrome type thing, and on the other hand it's like, okay, well, I've worked really hard at this, and if you do feel confident, then I do think that you have to be the first person to believe in your business more than anybody else. You have to be the first person who believes. I'm sorry, we're not on video, but this dog is in here today, Opie. And he is a sleepy mess. He's fallen off the couch, but
there we go.
I truly do think that you have to be the first person who's going to believe in yourself, invest in yourself, and if you start to invest in the education and the time and the mindset of like, okay, I am working really hard at this, then yes, up your prices, do your thing. If you're saying here like, okay, I just created an LLC, I'm getting these bookings, I'm getting these weddings, I'm trying to get organized, then it sounds like it's time to up your prices.
Agreed. And I also think like that imposter syndrome that you had mentioned, it's funny, you and I talked and you had said something like businesswoman extraordinaire, because I think I was complaining about something about like being seen in a certain way, and you were like, no, I kind of actually see you as a pretty strong businesswoman.
Yeah.
I don't see myself like that,
Which is insane.
I literally look at it and I go, I am duping everybody on a daily basis on thinking that I'm good at what I do, and I'm constantly coveting other people. Like when I see their work and I see all of this different stuff and their bookings and their couples, I'm sitting there like, okay, when am I going to get to that level? So I think it's so important to try to take a step back. And how he's sitting on me is so weird. He's like straddling my leg.
You gotta chill.
But I think it's so important to try to take a step back. And you had said, hey, I'm getting bookings. Then clearly no one's going to pay you money if you're not good at what you do.
Right.
Or if you're not somewhat decent enough for the price that you're charging.
Yeah.
So look at it and go, okay, I'm raising my prices $100 this week. Get a booking or two under your belt with that price, raise it again.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I don't want to say it's not that big of a deal because I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, but what do I like to say? We die at the end of this. Like life is so short anyways. Try new things. See what works, see what doesn't, you know. No one's
Live,
going to know.
love.
Yeah, live, laugh,
Live, laugh, love.
No one's going to know but you.
Right here.
Thanks.
Yep. Meg's just
I know
looking for her phone.
We've talked about this before, but I'm just going to reiterate. During wedding busy season, I'm sure our couples can appreciate this. They're our main focus. They're our main priority. So we decided to pull back and just do audio only. And
it makes life a lot easier.
It really does. It really does. Oh, okay. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for sharing your hump day with us. Don't forget to subscribe, review the pod wherever you listen. New episodes drop every Friday, and then like the large episodes drop on Friday, and these little mini mentorships drop on Wednesdays.
Make sure you're following along with us on Instagram at cocktailhour.podcast and submit your stories, questions, or any business-related questions that you might have to the link in our bio. Everything is anonymous, or you can always sign your name.
Yeah, we love to know who we're talking to.
Yeah, because there was a really nice submission that I know you added in Friday's episode, but I was like, who the fuck wrote this? I was crying in the club.
It was so sweet.
Crying.
That's why I made sure, even though I told you what it was, I was like, we're adding this to Friday's episode.
Crying. And then I forgot about it. And I was like, you know what? Yes. Remind me of who I am. Anyway, if you want to hear that submission, tune in on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.